Good evening, Giants fans, baseball fans, my fellow disgruntled baseball lifers, and anyone who wants to watch and, well, learn about our great game. I'm Steven Ruderman, welcoming you to the first official edition of the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe on its new home, sports radio service. I'm testing out all my new audio equipment, new camera, new microphone. I hope people can hear me okay. But as we go forward with the rest of the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of Giants post games, maybe even a few pre-games. I'll be doing some interviews with people. And I'll have some exciting guests, including two tonight, Sam Lubman and Bruce Macgowan. And the official point of tonight's show, it's going to be kind of a first half recap, second half preview for the Giants and baseball, and to talk about the state of the game of baseball and my feelings of the state of our great game, which, to be honest, aren't great. I love this game. This game is my life. I call myself a disgruntled baseball lifer. It'd probably do me good to get away from the game for a few years, but it's just not going to happen. Baseball's been my life the last 23 years, and that is not going to change. So we just got through with the All-Star game, and the National League ended up beating the American League, even though the score was tied at 6-6 after 9 innings. Remember with Bud Selig in the 2002 All-Star game, which ended in a tie in Milwaukee. So a new rule was implemented for the 2022 season that if an All-Star game was tied after 9 innings, there would be a swing-off. And so that happened, and the National League won the All-Star game due to the swing-off. And me personally, I missed the days when the All-Star game was actually a game in which guys were playing to win. And what I liked was in 2018 at the All-Star game in Washington, D.C. that year, Brandon Crawford was playing to win. He was chirping with Ted Barrett, who was the plate umpire in that game after getting called out on strikes. There's a picture of him sitting next to, I think, Matt Kemp and a few others, and they're all just goofing around. And Crawford had his game face on. And he really just appreciated that. And look, maybe something like that after the All-Star game has been tied after 12 innings, I would begrudgingly accept. But after 9 innings and to have it end that way, and now people want this to come into the regular season? Now, the worst part, of course, was the fact that they used ABS for the All-Star game. And look, booing umpires, hating umpires, it's a tradition older than time itself. But it used to be the hate for umpires was a romantic thing. You understood and respected that umpires were in charge, and you had fun booing them. And I used to boo umpires before I became one. Kyle's here in the comments. Kyle, can you hear me good? Is the sound good? Kyle Foster joins us and says, no, the Derby swing off was awesome. Respectfully disagree, pal. So now they're using the ABS challenge system. Dan Iasoni was the plate umpire, and it's looking more and more like this is going to be implemented next season. And it's like, okay, we don't need to be this anal about everything. Baseball is a lot like life. And in life, people make mistakes. They get things wrong. It happens. It sucks, but it happens. And when people get things wrong, you have arguments and ejections, and it's fun to watch a manager or a player or a coach or whoever scream at an umpire, and occasionally for the umpire to scream back. We don't have that anymore. It makes the game entertaining. Now, today, the game is just very sterile. It's robotic. There's no one in the game that has personalities anymore. You used to have players, managers, coaches, scouts, umpires, broadcasters who had personalities. They were characters, people who you would watch and you would think, what crazy thing are they going to do or say next? You don't have that anymore. And before anyone says, well, attendance is increasing and viewership's increasing, yeah, but it's still, attendance and viewership are still lower than they were at any point from 2004 to 2017. But baseball is making a lot of money. Why? Gambling. And I am someone who is all for legalized gambling. Always have been. Always will be. But Major League Baseball getting involved with making partnerships with the companies that put on the betting for their games is insane. And this is another Black Sox scandal waiting to happen. And it's not going to be good. when it does happen. But it is destined to happen. The game is just betting is everything now. And I think Dale Scott has even said, who I would love to have on the show at some point, I've interviewed him in the past, that he believes that's one of the big reasons ABS is coming into the game, because not only are people betting on games, they're betting on how many runs will a team score in an inning. They're betting on whether a pitch will be a ball or strike. And when an umpire calls a pitch that's 0.000000 2 million years later, 0.00001 inches off the plate, a strike, and gets the call quote unquote wrong, you're going to have an angry customer who just lost a lot of money. I miss the days when being anal was not cool. Being anal is now cool. We have to get everything precise. No room for human mistake. So at the end of the day, what my show is about, it's about the game. I'm going to talk about the Giants as we go forward in the second half. Thank God the Giants are in contention and have a chance to go to the playoffs for the first time in 4 years, just the second time in the last 9 years. If it happens, knock on wood, let's not jinx it. But it is hard to watch the game. And it's hard to watch the game because it's so one-dimensional. For the most part, you have guys just throwing 100 miles an hour, and you have hitters just trying to hit home runs. And the combination of the fact that analytics people run a lot of the teams and have shoved out a lot of longtime baseball people, combining that with the fact that the talent is just not as good, baseball's become very hard to watch. And the reason the talent's not as good is because the game has become very classist. Over the last 20, 30 years, baseball has become very expensive to play. And, you can play, all you need with basketball is a ball and find a hoop somewhere. Football, you do need padding, you do need helmet and whatnot, but you can learn to play football with a ball. Baseball, you need more than one ball. You need a glove, you need a bat, you need another person with a glove and a bat. And equipment's not cheap, kids. And not to make a knock on today's players. They're very good. They've definitely earned their spot in the big leagues. But Jeff Fry, a former second baseman, has said perfectly that at least 100, probably 100 or so, of the 780 players in Major League Baseball, 840 in September when rosters go from 26 to 28, should not be in the show. The combination of less talent and analytics people running things and getting everyone to swing for the fences and throw 100 miles an hour, it's made the baseball today very hard to watch. So we're going to talk a lot about this on our show. I'm going to bring people on. Jeff Fry would be another guy I'd love to interview. I might hit him up soon and see if he can come on and we can talk about this stuff. And I don't like that people view me as this old man yelling at clouds. I just love the game. And I want the game to be entertaining again. And there's still some good baseball to watch. The Giants, for the most part, have been very fun to watch this season. But the game is not in good shape right now. And again, they're losing their viewership and attendance are still below where they were from 2004 to 2017. But the reason Major League Baseball is making all the money they're making right now, as I said, it's the betting, it's the gambling. And as long as that keeps the gravy train flowing for the 30 owners, they're going to be pretty content with what's going on. This is barreling towards a Black Sox scandal kind of situation. And things won't be good in 2027 when we have, at the best case scenario, a truncated baseball season. So yeah, I'm here doing this. We're going to have interviews. We're going to talk about the Giants. I'll have guests on where we're going to talk baseball. And I'm going to do my best to talk about the show. My guests are going to be Sam Lubman and Bruce Macgowan, wherever they are. I've sent them links to come join. I told them between 7:15 and 7:20. So if they want to come on, have it on. Come on in, fellas. All right, Sam Lubman's coming in, and I'm just waiting for Bruce now. Zach Navarro says, "Good luck, Ruderbet. I hope your baseball podcast goes great." I appreciate it, brother. I greatly appreciate it. So the good news is the Giants are in contention. They come into the break. They did lose a tough one against the Dodgers Sunday, but tough losses happen. They went 3-3 against two of the best teams in baseball. You can't complain about that. And I mean, the National League is pretty competitive. I do like where the Giants are standing. But anyway, my first guest, as I wait for Bruce, he is the morning producer of the Morning Roast, 6 to 10 weekdays, Monday through Friday on 95.7 The Game. He is the co-host of Baseball Guys and Garlic Fries with either Steven Risotto or Joe Shasky. And he hosts a new weekend show, 9 to 12 on Saturdays. One of my best friends in the whole world, Mr. Sam Lubman. Sam, how are you, sir?
How's it going, Steven? Yeah, the Orange and Black Weekend Wrap. That's the Saturday morning show. How you doing, man?
The name of it, I knew it was something. I apologize for that. I had to say you were three things, so please don't hold that against me.
You're good, man. Glad to be on here, though.
I am so happy you're here as my first guest. So, what are your thoughts on the All-Star game?
Thoughts on the All-Star game? It was a good All-Star game, not a great one, not a necessarily insanely memorable one. You got a clean inning from Logan Webb. That was really good. That's always never a guarantee when it comes to giant pitchers in the All-Star game. And unfortunately, then that was the Randy Rodriguez side of the conversation. As I said afterwards, Randy Rodriguez is now officially a San Francisco Giants All-Star because that's kind of the history of Giants pitchers in the All-Star game. It doesn't always go very well. There's, obviously the times where it does. Remember Matt Cain in 2012, Brian Wilson famously had very clean innings in the All-Star game. Madison Bumgarner had a very unmemorable All-Star game outing in 2015. I say it because literally nothing happened in it, which is kind of what happened with Logan Webb's inning as well. Nothing really happened, and that's kind of what you ask for. So in that sense, it was good. The game itself, though, I mean, it was a not super exciting 6-0 comeback. There was a lot of dead periods and a little bit of action, then a lot of dead periods and a little bit of action. And then it got finished by a home run derby, which, I think could have been a lot better if the game's two biggest stars, Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, actually stuck around and did it. But
did they leave the game? Did they leave the ballpark?
I heard that they just straight up left the ballpark.
Wow.
And which is not a good look when the game comes down to a home run derby and your two best home run hitters have left the building, and we're forced to watch Kyle Stowers and Jose Aranda instead. And it's one of those things. So the All-Star game, it was good, not great. It could have been better if, again, you had your stars actually sticking around there. But I mean, I was okay with the way it ended. I think Kyle Schwarber getting the MVP because he hit a couple batting practice home runs. I don't know how I feel about that.
That's insane.
I think I would have given it to Pete Alonso, but at the same time, Kyle Schwarber, his actions are basically what won the game for the All-Star team, for the NL All-Star team. So I don't really know. I don't want to shake a stick at it too much because it is still an exhibition game, but it was good. There's a lot of ways it could have been a little bit better, though.
I was not a fan of having the game end on a home run derby, especially when the home run derby is the night before. But now people are talking about this being used in regular season games. That is insane.
I don't see how that could possibly be used in regular season games. That would just be ridiculous. There's no way. I just think it would be so stupid to use that in regular season games. I think the extra Manfred runner alone has shortened extra inning games enough that I don't think you even need to do that. But to do that, I think that would just be ridiculous because at the end of it's easy for an all-star team to cobble together three sluggers. For a normal baseball team, there's got to be some level of fairness in these games. And you're going to have teams that are, loaded with sluggers like the Yankees and Dodgers, and teams are going to be like, the Rockies and Twins who don't have that kind of firepower. They're always going to be at a disadvantage. And so that would just be stupid.
Well, and another thing too is people say, well, they have the shootout in hockey. Yeah, because you have a goalie.
Yeah.
In the shootout. having a game decided when the defensive team's not doing anything, and imagine having a game 162 deciding the final wild card spot.
Well, imagine having a World Series determined by that.
Exactly. That's insane.
It would be. I agree. I think that would be. It would be like if you were to compare it to the shootout in hockey. That'd be like, okay, we're gonna do a little swing off here, but we also get to choose the pitcher, and so the other team gets to send out a pitcher, and you get 3 swings off of any pitcher. It's not batting practice swings; it's actual swings.
Right.
Then it becomes a little bit different. But now it's like, well, now you're gonna what? Do you bring a reliever back in? How is that? It's just there's so many dumb ways it can go south that we've already bastardized extra innings enough. We don't need to go the full length at this point.
Now, the thing is, it has been, it's been, the Manfred rule has done a lot to it. Some people may not agree with me on this, but back in the day before they had lights, there were forfeits when the sun went down. I would actually be okay with a 12 or 13, or not forfeits, I'm sorry, a curfew. I would be okay with a 12 or 13 inning curfew because extra inning games are very taxing on bullpens. I would be okay with a game ending in a tie after 12 or 13 innings. I would rather have that happen than the game decided on a little home run derby or it being decided, or even the Manfred runner. But what's also a bad look for Major League Baseball is it's like, come see our product, which we promise to have be over with as soon as possible. Like, we're promoting this product as something that you're not even going to like. I mean, what does that say about Major League Baseball? That this is how they're promoting the game.
Well, yeah, there is kind of like a hurry up and go home element to baseball games. That's the attitude I get from the pitch clock. There is just like there's some people that got to travel, hour and a half, 2 hours to get from their home to a baseball game. And if you're gonna make that entire trip and you spend that same amount of time actually at the game, like I'm gonna feel like I didn't get my money's worth. So there's that aspect to it there. Yeah, there is an aspect just like rushing it through, and it just Major League Baseball did have a chance to, it had the floor to itself, and I thought overall did a pretty good job of showcasing itself on Tuesday night. But at the end of the day, it's just there are ways it went well. There are ways it could have gone better. Like have the Stars take part in the swing off at the end there. The game itself, I mean, it was a typical all-star game. You got the best pitchers on the planet going against really good hitters. And when you've got a new pitcher every inning, that's going to tend to favor the pitching. And that's typically, I think, how all-star games go. And now, of course, you had the first all-star game ever with 2 3-run home runs in it. And that was pretty cool. Brent Rooker went off Randy Rodriguez. That's going to be one that will live in Giants infamy for quite a while.
Nothing like the Fred Lynn grand slam off Atlee Hammaker.
Well, let's hope to God that doesn't impact Randy Rodriguez at all. But yeah, I mean, really, that was the situation that Randy Rodriguez came into. I think he had I think Rooker was the second batter he faced, right? It was Rooker the first. I don't remember off, but he came into a situation that like runners on, no outs. Like this is the situation that you've done well in to get yourself into an all-star game. So I love that when Randy Rodriguez was brought into the game. It's just, oh man, that sucked that it just did not go very well for him.
If we're going to do the extra inning swing off thing, though, at least let there be one extra inning first.
I don't think it'll ever be in regular season games. I think
hope not.
Too ridiculous.
Sam, with Manfred, you never know.
That is true. You never really thought there would be an extra runner on base, and then here we are.
And a lot of people seem to want this in regular season games.
Well, I guess that's just another thing to be debated next year when we got this season and next season is still guaranteed, or is next season?
Next season is guaranteed, but 2027.
Okay, well then, if anything, I don't see anything getting changed major with the rules until 2027. When
it can.
Seems like what's that?
The rules committee, which has 7 owners, 4 players, and an umpire. I could be wrong about the exact numbers, but I believe that's what the numbers are. They could propose such a rule, and if they propose a rule, all they need is 45 days notice, and they can implement it. So they technically could implement that next season.
Again, I don't think that would be a good idea for them to do it. I think it's just it wouldn't. I don't think it makes sense for real games for that to be a thing. And
of course it doesn't.
I don't think there's enough long extra inning games that are going deep into the night Like I think the longest extra inning game we've had in the Manfred era is that 15 inning game between the Dodgers and Padres back in 2021, and that was one of the most exciting games of the year. So I mean, it's these long extra inning games don't happen as often anymore because that extra runner. And now, if you had that extra runner and games are still going really long, then I think it makes more sense. But it's just it's a thing that wasn't broken before, isn't broken now. It doesn't need fixing.
You know what I would begrudgingly consider? Let's getting rid of the Manfred runner, and if a game goes, I don't know, like 15 or more innings, then maybe I would entertain the idea of a swing off to end a game like that.
I'm fine with the Manfred runner, but I would like to see it start in like the 11th inning
or 12th.
Yeah, or the 12th, something like that. Like, give me an inning of normal baseball first, because extra innings are part of the game. Overtime is a part of any sport. But the other side, I am sympathetic to the idea that extra inning games can be taxing on teams.
Yeah, I get that.
For those, then more.
Let's talk about 2027. Let's just make clear right now, I hate to say this, but barring a miracle, we're not going to get a full 162 game season in 2027. It was kind of like how the 1990 lockout was a warm up to the 1994 strike. The 2021-2022 lockout is probably just going to be a warm up back to what's going to be a much more severe and much more damaging work stoppage. The good news is Manfred will probably do what he did in 2021 and lock out the players right away on December 1st of next year. But I guarantee we're not going to have a full 162 games. It will get ugly. You will at least, someone like Manfred might threaten, if we don't get a deal done by April 1st, we're going to wipe out the whole season, because Manfred does that. He likes to Manfred has a history of bluffing. And what we saw in the last lockout was the owners lock out the players, and then they refuse to negotiate. They wouldn't even go negotiate with the players until we got to February, until we got to the point where pitchers and catchers were set to report. And I feel like what the players should have done that year is they should have gone to the National Labor Relations Board and filed a grievance against the owners for refusing to negotiate in good faith. And I feel like if it gets to that point, I do feel like perhaps a judge could, a la Sotomayor in 1995, issue an injunction ordering the owners to end the lockout and let the games resume. And I think that's something the players should have done in 2022. And I think that's something that needs to be on the table in 2027, because the owners will not negotiate throughout the offseason. They're going to try and drag this thing on. And I think that is something that is doable.
All right. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know how up to date I am on the labor relations here between the players union and the league here, but again, I think we've shown, Manfred is not afraid to, I think, lose games. I think we saw how I remember how this kind of played out in 2020, how much the owners will dig their feet in. And then I think I'll say this is going to come down to who feels like they can afford to lose more. And I think the owners feel pretty confident that they can lose a lot here. And I mean, I feel like the owners, they're almost ready to punt on the entire 2020 season, if I recall.
They were.
So they're not afraid to punt on a season, if they think it'll work for them financially. So I hope so. I mean, I think another thing that's going to be playing a role in this is the TV networks and all the TV money. A lot of that's going to be changing hands too. ESPN, it looks like they're about to be out. NBC, are they going to be coming in? What's their coverage of baseball going to be like? It's at a time when baseball is kind of in a precarious place in terms of marketing itself. It's certainly got major stars to market now with Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, and it puts the players at risk. That's a lot of those are two guys who could really usher in a new era of baseball superstardom. You don't want to put them on ice for a year. So yeah, it's certainly a precarious place for the players to be in.
Very precarious place for the players to be in. And you mentioned the TV, they don't want to lose the money. Now, the thing is, it would destroy, I mean, if they were to wipe out an entire season, which I'm cautiously optimistic that won't happen, but I would say that's probably more likely to happen than a full 162 game season in 2027. If that were to happen, that would cost a lot of fans, and that would cost the owners and Major League Baseball in turn a lot of money in years to come. However, what it won't cost them is the gamblers who will still gamble on everything when baseball returns after that, and that might make them less afraid to nix an entire season because like, oh, we'll just make money off the gambling. And you and I, we haven't really talked much about the gambling in baseball, but I feel like this is a collision course for another Black Sox like scandal. Especially, and I am for legalized gambling, but when you have the league partnering with the betting companies, this is insanity.
Well, yeah, you're partnering with the betting companies, and if the players partner with those betting companies, the players get banned. It's like Superman getting a sponsorship with kryptonite. It doesn't. It's you're basically setting yourself up for a disaster. And Major League Baseball more or less averted one last year when they were an amazing feat of federal funds. The FBI was able to determine within one day that Shohei Ohtani had no connection to Ipe Mizuhara's betting. And, we'll make jokes and whatnot. Oh, Shohei bets on baseball games. But yeah, they cleared him of wrongdoing in that really, really quickly, which that tells me that Major League Baseball knows very well the third rail that they're touching here. And they almost got zapped last year. And they cut it off quickly. And I don't know if Shohei was actually involved with betting on baseball games or not. I would not be shocked if he was. I'm not just saying that as a biased anti-Dodger, Giants fan who hates the Dodgers. I'm saying that because Shohei Ohtani is a person. There's not a human being alive that isn't capable of breaking the rules some way, shape, or form. Shohei's more than capable of placing bets on baseball games, and he's more than capable of instructing his past his past interpreter of carrying the bets out and taking the fall if it all goes wrong. If it's not Shohei today, it's going to be someone else getting pinched for it tomorrow. So this is what happens when you get in bed with these companies is the access is going to be greater, and the ability to hide your steps is going to be easier. And, it's only a matter of time before it reaches a breaking point where someone's going to get caught up in something really, really ugly. And
there's a scheme for a team to throw the World Series.
That's the other kind of really ugly part of it. Exactly. I don't know if hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but it's going to seep in. It's this gambling money. It's going to seep in some way, shape, or form. And Major League Baseball getting in bed with these companies, I don't know if that stops it or not. I don't know if, Major League Baseball doing sponsorships with FanDuel, I don't know if how much that increases or decreases the risk of players getting involved in gambling scandals. But, it's just, I think another way is it's just going to make it more accessible, but it's going to bring more scrutiny on it too. Because people are going to be aware of this stuff now. And I think if you're looking for maybe a blessing within this curse, is that so, hard to not get caught doing these things these days. What we just had, what's his name in the NBA? I'm spacing on his name with the Pistons. He just got pinched. He's never played this game again. There was a guy on the Raptors the other year who got pinched. It's going to happen. Now, will the big time stars, what Shohei showed us is that will Major League Baseball protect its biggest names?
Yes.
That's a very plausible theory to go with.
Yes, they will. Major League Baseball has a history of covering up stuff. The Black Sox scandal, steroids. And I don't know if Shohei gambled. I have no way of knowing, but it wouldn't surprise me because baseball absolutely would protect Shohei. Because what kind of look is it if it turns out Shohei's gambling on games, their biggest star?
Well, especially after you just signed the biggest deal ever to go revive, keep the revival in LA going. I mean, what Major League Baseball got last year was its dream come true. It had its two biggest stars, Judge and Shohei, in their two biggest cities, New York and LA, facing off in the World Series. That was Major League Baseball's wet dream for the last several years. And they finally got it. And so the whole let's not let Shohei get busted for gambling, it paid off because that's what Major League Baseball is going for. It wants a arms race taking place on opposite coasts between the Yankees and the Dodgers. And it will do it because it knows that a Yankee-Dodger future is great for the league. And the league, I definitely think, has been benefiting off of it. And they're not going to let that cash cow just go down just like that. So, if you're a big-time superstar, you'll get the protections. But then that's where I think the league's going to lose, credibility in the long run, though.
Also, what this, by the way, that's the matchup. ESPN. There's someone like ever since 2005, which is as far back as I can remember on these like preseason predictions shows. Someone on ESPN would always predict Dodgers Yankees. That was the ESPN Wet Dream World Series too.
Well, everyone wanted it. I mean, well, that's the big in any in all the leagues. So that's the dream. They want NHL wants the Kings and the Rangers facing off with each other. If they can't get the Blackhawks and the Bruins, the NFL kind of just doesn't really matter, I guess. But NBA, they want Lakers Celtics or Lakers Knicks. I mean, they want leagues want their premier markets to be represented in the Super Bowl. The NFL absolutely wants the New York Giants to be in there against an LA team, I guess, or maybe the Jets and Rams would be a preferable one, or really just the Cowboys actually is the preferred one there. But the NFL is a totally different beast. But all the leagues want their New York and LA teams in the mix because those are your biggest TV markets.
So the one thing I would not rule out, because Manfred is someone who has shown that he can be very reckless and irresponsible, is Manfred trying to rig the matchup of a World Series or the outcome of a World Series. Let's say there is a team that in the postseason is not expected to go to the World Series, and you would think are going to get swept in 2 straight in the wild card series. And the betting company says to Manfred, hey, we have a lot of people predicting this team to go win the World Series. There's a way they can do it. We do know for a fact in 2022, Major League Baseball was using 3 different types of baseballs. Manfred could use the heavier baseballs when the team they want to lose is hitting, and use the lighter baseballs when the team that they want to win is hitting. I would not rule out someone like Manfred trying to rig the results of a postseason, to rig a World Series matchup, and to rig the outcome of a World Series. I really wouldn't.
I mean, if they do that, I think they're going to do it more for ratings than anything.
Right. But I wouldn't and I've thought about that too. I would not.
So if the Yankees beat the Tigers in mysterious fashion in the postseason this year, then I think there's some there to that theory.
In 2023, baseball had its lowest watched World Series ever with the Diamondbacks and the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, it was the Dodgers and the Padres. In the NLDS, and again, do I think this happened? Most likely not. But it did seem a little bizarre. The Padres had a 2-1 lead over the Dodgers, and then the Padres didn't score a run in the 4th and 5th games. And the Padres seemed to hit a lot of deep fly balls in those games, as I recall. And the Dodgers were able to hit home runs in those games. Having a Dodgers-Yankees World Series, the Wet Dream World Series, again, a year after having a Diamondbacks-Rangers World Series. As I said, do I think that happened? Most likely not. Do I think the Dodgers and Yankees won their pennants legitimately? Most likely, yes. But is this with someone like Manfred? He's the type of person where he's a wild card. He's someone who's reckless. He's impulsive. He will do things that could get himself in legal trouble.
I think he doesn't really care about the game so much as he cares about the bottom line.
Yeah.
Decision making is purely based off of what's going to put the most money in my pocket and in the owner's pockets, because at the end of the day, that is his mandate. He feels as commissioner, his mandate is to enrich the bottom lines of 30 people who own baseball teams, because the idea is this: if you're doing at least that, the rest of the game will be taken care of itself. The problem is, though, that's not how it works in the real world. Just because you're making money doesn't mean that the league the game is doing well. Manfred's made a lot of moves that are good fiscally for the league, but in doing so, it's kind of sterilized the game and removed some of its nuances.
Yeah, ABS does that, and it's not just the umpires. There's not much personality in the game, whether it be player. Used to have players, coaches, managers, umpires, scouts, announcers, you name it, who had personalities. You don't have that with any of those.
I mean, I think you do still have personalities. It's just a lot of these personalities, they're like when the Giants clubhouse, we've seen these guys, they have personalities. Willie Adames has a personality.
Yes.
Matt has a personality. Logan Webb has a personality.
They need to let it show more, though.
There's lots of personalities on a team, but yeah, you see we see it at times. The fans see it at times, but scrutiny on these guys is so great these days.
And
Everything
there's
you do is a tweet. Everything you do is a story. Everything you do is under a microscope. You only have, eh, allowing the world to see more of your personality. It's a risk.
yeah,
Because
and
if you open yourself up to that, you open yourself up to the world. And I think a lot of ball players these days, they want to live a private life. I don't think there's a lot of players who want that publicity directed at them, because with publicity comes scrutiny. With scrutiny comes, unfortunately, scandal and negativity. And there's a lot of guys who I think just don't want that.
I want to
And
say,
I think that makes promotion of superstars and personalities in your league a little bit difficult, because you're seeing that in a lot of sports too. Basketball, I think you're seeing less colorful personalities. Football, the personalities are getting kind of more similar and similar. I mean, there's guys who stand out, but now the guys who stand out are almost kind of the outlier guys now. They're the weird ones now for having personality, because so few people do, because again, it's just you only want to give so much of yourself up to the public.
well, first of all, I want to say hello to my friend Alejandro Perez, who's watching on the Facebook side. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Is a fellow umpire. Was with me at the Wendell State Umpire School in 2023. And just a shameless plug, Wendell State Umpire School registration is open for the class of 2026. So go to umpireschool.com today to register. So sorry for that shameless plug. I actually did that on my own because it's a great place and it's a very special place. And if you want to become an umpire, if you want to learn to become an umpire, that is the place to go. It seems to me that there is a hostility now towards people with personalities, because it's not just the players. You used to have umpires, scouts, announcers with personalities, and not very many of those types have personalities anymore. And there is, the threat that, I hate the word canceled. Oh, so-and-so got canceled. That sounds like something a 10-year-old would say. There is the legitimate fear of getting blacklisted if you do or say the wrong thing, which is very wrong. That people, okay, it's one thing if you say something incredibly bigoted, but it's another if you make a stupid joke, or not even a stupid joke, but it offends 0.1% of your viewership, and people do lose their careers or at least face very strict penalties because of that. And that's wrong, and people do have the legitimate fear of doing so. There's that, and that's understandable that players don't want to have that happen. But it's also, I feel like, Major League Baseball and other corporate entities, because pretty much everything in society, I know, Sam, you hate it when I say this, but it is true that everything in society is corporate now. It seems like there's a legitimate hostility towards personalities from the corporate world. They want everyone to be clean cut. They want everyone to be uniform. And it makes everything just a lot less fun and entertaining. And personalities.
Well, not so much. It's not about going corporate. It's about prioritizing the bottom line. And that's where we're at these days. That's just called capitalism.
It's also,
there is something about a uniformity to things when going about that, because it's what fiscally works. It's what's fiscally safe. It's what brings in the money. It's people like uniformity, control, structure. When you take that away, there's an uneasiness about that. And so, yeah, that's kind of why you see the game stripping these nuances out, because the nuances, are being blamed for making the game less profitable. And a short, clean-cut game is what's believed to make money. And that's not, I disagree with that premise. I think you're harming the product to a point where you're not going to, the gains are going to be hollow, but that's kind of how Manfred's thinking right now. And that's why him being in charge of baseball is very bad for the sport, because this is very, very stupid thinking.
And I think also limiting personalities, even though they think it's good for the bottom line, I think it hurts them financially. They lose money when they tamp down on the personalities. Look, Harry Carey may have been a bumbling drunk, but he was entertaining. As an announcer myself, I have mixed feelings on Harry Carey. I don't like that he would announce games that drunk, but at the same time, he was beloved in the city of Chicago. He was a real character. People did love him, and people did watch just to see Harry Carey do his shtick. And that made money. And I think owners are losing money because of this. But also, I actually wonder if they know they're losing money, and if today's corporations are more concerned about power and control over their product than making money, and if they're consciously willing to sacrifice some money for that control.
I'm not sure on that one.
It seems that way to me because it seems like they should know that having everything be bland and robotic doesn't help the bottom line. Like, I think one of the big reasons
Well, that's
World
why I think Major League Baseball fandom is never going to be as intense and passionate as it was 20 years ago. I was watching the other day. I was watching the documentary on Long Gone Summer, 30 for 30 on McGuire and Sosa in '98, and the fervor and fandom around the best players back then was insane. Like, you had McGuire and Sosa doing press conferences together. And I just don't think you'd ever see players of that magnitude doing a presser together for any reason, because I don't think the fervor between two stars would ever be that big. Like the amount of popularity that those two have, like, it's so much greater than whatever Shohei and Judge have. Shohei and
Yeah.
Judge are big-time stars, but baseball was romanticized in a way 20 years ago that elevated its greatest stars. And I feel like that romantic element of baseball is gone, and that's kind of where the sterileness of the game really shows itself. When it's just the three true outcomes, when decisions are made purely because of what the spreadsheet says and not based off what you're seeing in the game. When you have these pitchers being removed because it's the third time through the order, can't let that happen. When you have all these moves and decisions that by and large are not made, or are made by and large with a fiscal sense, not so much a baseball sense, that's where the game really suffers.
It does. And baseball's become really sterile, I think, since about 2017, 2018, when the three true outcomes really took hold. But one of the reasons I'm doing this show, Sam, is because I am a personality. I am someone who will say and do crazy things. And I'm kind of on a mission to try and bring that flair back into the game. And I know it's an uphill battle, but I'm certainly going to try. And I think it's certainly worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, speaking of, and that's going to be one of the points of this show. This is going to be a show where we're going to do and say stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. I promise you that. Now, speaking of analytics in baseball, the Giants went in the opposite direction, because let's talk about the Giants. The Giants are in the All-Star break. They come into the All-Star break. They're 7 games over 500. They're 52-45. The way they lost Sunday's game to the Dodgers, it sucked. It was a tough loss.
Ass.
It did.
But there's no sugarcoating it. Like, that was one of the worst losses I've felt as a Giants fan in a long time. Like, it's been a long time since I felt just that hopelessly empty after a loss. Like, that really sucked.
Well, you weren't the only one. Vinny Shestoni, who will be the show's producer, but didn't show up tonight. And it looks like we may not get Bruce tonight. Bruce is a busy man. He's very understandable. He could have had other things come up, and if he can't show tonight, he could definitely show some other time. And Vinny's a busy man too. Vinny's on his vacation, so if he doesn't want to come here, I'm not going to hold things against people. There have been obligations that I've been unable to make at the last minute. It happens. But Vinny was very upset after Sunday's game, and it really was. Look, it was a tough loss. The Giants came back and tied it, and then they just couldn't get the job done in extra innings. But at the end of the day, and I get it's not going to make people who are upset about Sunday's loss feel any better. 3-3 against two of the best teams in baseball. That's not bad. And the Giants have definitely been playing better baseball over the last couple of weeks. We're seeing more of that kind of fundamental baseball that they were playing back in April and the first week of May come into focus here. They did press a little bit against the Dodgers Saturday and Sunday. And of course, the one big hit was the home run by Luis Matos on Sunday. The fear I have, though, is when they go into the series and this road trip, they're going onto a road trip in two very live ballparks, Rogers Center in Toronto and then Truist Park in Atlanta, where they might hail a lot of home runs, go something like 5-1, and then they're going to come home. They're going to be in that home run happy mindset, and then they're going to go 1-5 against the Mets and the Pirates. I think this team has what it takes to make the playoffs. I don't think this team is going to fall out of contention or run away with the playoff spot. I think this thing will probably come down to the final week of the season, but I do think this team has what it takes to get into the playoffs. And when you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. And I think this team is kind of got a team of destiny feel to it, where I think if they get hot at the right time, they could be dancing on top of the baseball world, or we could be watching another parade down Market Street. Um, but at the same time, it's definitely Dwayne Kuiper has said the torture's back. I think it's definitely going to be that kind of second half, which has its ups and downs. When they got off to the 8-1 start, I was thinking this was going to be a 90 to 95 win team, maybe even 95 to 100 win team. Well, I was an idiot. I think this, probably now you're thinking more 85 to 90 wins, but you never know. They could get hot. Maybe they could win 95 games. How do you see the second half playing out?
Well, for one, I mean, I think it's still an 85 to 90 win team. They absolutely need Rafi Devers to be healthy, and I am legitimately worried about his health right now because I think the Giants can be in the mix for a playoff spot without Devers, but with Devers, it's which playoff spot are they going to be getting? I think that's the question. That's the only question. So they absolutely need him to be right and healthy, ready to go. And that's going to be their first conundrum, I think, coming out of the break is how healthy is he going to be and what are they going to do there? Because he does not look good when he runs. And it does not look good when you put him at first base. I think your first base situation, it's Wilmer and Dom Smith the rest of the way at first base. And I'm okay with that. And I've said numerous times, I would be happy if Rafi Devers does not play a single inning at first base this year. I am totally okay with him just DHing the rest of the way. Get that back right. They cannot have him with a bulging disc playing through this. Be like, oh no, he's playing through pain meds. It's fine. Like, I'll say this, if you have to IL him coming out the break here to get him 10 days off his feet where he can just focus on getting, that back right.
Fine.
I'm okay with punting on 10 days of Rafi Devers if it means 2 months of him healthy down the stretch.
But let's say he hurts himself and he's out the rest of the season. I think this team could do fine without him. But I think, as you said, having a healthy Rafi Devers would be the best. Buster Posey went on Murph and Marcus.
I don't know if they'd be fine without him. I mean, they can certainly manage without him in that situation. I mean, your lineup doesn't change that much. You got Dom Smith at first. Wilmer Flores would be your everyday DH. So, I mean, they'll go back to life. They didn't trade any major everyday pieces to get Devers. So, life without him would not look all that different, especially in the lineup. But I don't know what you're getting from Wilmer Flores in the second half if he's an everyday guy, even if he is at DH. I don't know what you're getting from Dom Smith every day in the second half. Because he would be an everyday player in that sense. I don't know what your lineup looks like. Your lineup gets a little bit shorter there. You probably got, in that situation, you got Ramos Adames. You're probably forcing Wilmer to be your 3-hitter, or you got Jung-Hoo Lee's back at your 3-hitter, and he's the second piece that they need to get right there. Without Rafi Devers, could they be in the mix for a playoff spot? Sure, but I think without Rafi Devers, they're in the 84 to 87 win area. In a season where I think 88 to 90 wins is going to be required to get one of those playoff spots.
Here's why I respectfully disagree. The Giants got off to a 24-14 start without Devers. They've been playing really solid ball over the last, they played really solid ball over the final week and a half of the first half without Devers really swinging the bat. I think they can survive without him. It's not going to be good. You'd rather him not get hurt, and you'd rather him be playing at 100%.
No, here's the thing. I doubt that because they're not getting by on sustainable ways. They're getting by because Mike Yastrzemski is having a hot spell right now. They're getting by because Dom Smith is coming up with hits here and there. They got off to a great start because they're getting out, unreal production from Wilmer Flores and Jung-Hoo Lee. Wilmer Flores, what we saw from him in April and May, that's not going to continue into the second half of the year. That's just not the kind of player he is. He'll have big hits here and there. Don't get me wrong. He's probably still going to be one of your best late game 2-out situational hitters on this roster. But as far as everyday production, it's not going to match what he was giving you at the beginning of the year. The X factor is Jung-Hoo Lee. If Jung-Hoo Lee can go back to being the guy he was in April, who's actually using all sides of the field, then an absence of Rafi Devers becomes not as much of an impediment as it would now. But if you don't have Devers going and you don't have Jung-Hoo Lee going, that means you're banking on Elliot Ramos getting right coming out the second half, which is certainly possible. And then you got Willie Adames and Matt Chapman, who, even at their best, that's not enough, I think, to carry a lineup into the playoffs here. Not with so you got 2/9 of your lineup. Is it something you can count on here? That's just not enough. So,
but I think if
they absolutely need Rafi Devers, because if Rafi's hitting right, and they got him in that 2-3 spot there, it gets the rest of this lineup in order. You probably could put Jung-Hoo Lee lower in the lineup now, since you're not trusting him with the big at-bats. It makes a much more dynamic lineup. It's going to do a lot more damage en route to the playoffs. So no, I think this team, if they want to get to the playoffs, they absolutely need Rafi Devers. Without him, you're hoping and praying for a miracle. And sure, you could do that, but like, other teams are going to have actual strategies to get to the playoffs that are built around baseball, not just, hoping is not a strategy. Hoping is something you just kind of end up doing when all the pieces fall into place. You got nothing else to do.
Well, it's not hoping as much as wanting it. And the one thing that carried the Giants over the top in the 3 championship years, especially in 2014 when they had far from the best team, was how much they wanted it. And this year's team really seems to want it. And I get it. But that can make a big impact. And you get Lee hot, you get Ramos hot, you get William Adames hot, maybe Casey Schmidt gets hot, and you might see Wilmer Flores get hot at some point in the second half. We don't know for a fact he won't.
He's going to have hot stretches, but again, he's 33 years old. The body has had a lot of mileage on it. He's going to tail off a little bit in the second half. You got to be ready for that.
He probably will, but I feel like the Giants do have the piece to where if Devers is lost for the season, that they can make a run and go to the playoffs.
No, I disagree with that. They need Rafi Devers. They want to make the playoffs. It's that simple. They can play meaningful baseball up until the last week of the season, but this lineup needs Rafi Devers to be producing. They've been barely getting by with
Devers. He's not producing.
I know, and they're barely getting by. They're hanging around 500. They need to start putting some
hanging around. They're 7 games over 500.
Yes, they need to start putting some distance between that. That's not going to hold up. They're going to have.
Early in the season they were doing that, and I think just with the pitching they have, with the bullpen they have, you don't even necessarily need the most efficient offense. I think this team knows how to win games. It's not easy. It's not exactly pretty all the time, but this team has shown that it knows how to win games, and that's why I do respectfully disagree with you that I think this team can compete without Devers. However, the thing is, the Giants organization has long. And I've always put a bullseye on Dave Greshner's back for this.
I think this team's an 84, 85 win team without Devers.
We'll just have to see.
The thing is, not a playoff team.
I think they could be 85 to 90 without Devers, but we'll just have to wait and see. The thing is, though, with Devers, Dave Greshner has had a long history of letting guys play hurt. And the Devers thing seems to be another example of that. This has been happening a long time with Dave Greshner and the Giants. They let guys play hurt. They rush guys who are on the IL back, and then they get even more injured. We saw it with Matt Cain. We saw it with Angel Pagan. We saw it with Hunter Pence. I feel like, and the same thing is happening here with Rafi Devers. You're looking at the guy. He's not at 100%. You look at the guy thinking, this guy shouldn't be playing right now.
No, and they're having him take pain meds to get through it. I don't understand the logic of how they're doing this.
Well, it's just, as I said, Sam, the Giants have done that for a long time. Greshner lets guys play hurt, and then he tends to rush guys back, and then they come back, and then they re-injure themselves, and they end up in worse shape than before. I do think we have to take a look at the way the Giants training staff conducts itself, because this has been happening with the Giants for a very, very long time. Letting guys play hurt, rushing guys back who are hurt, and then getting even more hurt. This is a problem, and we are seeing it right now with Rafi Devers.
And then, if that's the case, then you got to get rid of Jay Greshner at that point.
But this has been happening under Greshner's watch for a long time, and look, this would be such a massive failing by the Giants too, and a massive failing by Buster Posey if this trade does not bear fruit this year. And if it does not bear fruit because he was injured and they mismanaged his health in any way, shape, or form, then heads will need to roll. And that includes Dave Greshner, who let Matt Cain pitch for a whole year and a half with bone chips, which essentially destroyed his career. Let Angel Pagan play hurt. Let Hunter Pence play with his hamstring not at 100% until he tore it completely off the bone on May 31st or June 1st of 2016. Dave Greshner has a long history of allowing this kind of stuff to happen, and we need to talk about this. And if Rafael Devers completely blows out his back on this road trip or before the trade deadline and he's out for the season, then Dave Greshner needs to go.
Yes, I agree with that, because that would be a massive. I think this team has to make the playoffs. Like, I think Buster's kind of put himself in a rock and a hard place here. I think if this team does not make the playoffs, I have a hard time really giving Bob his job back for next year. And this where Buster Posey, I think, really kind of screwed up in how he gave the he exercised the option. He did it in a very public way that showed a lot of public faith to his manager and coaching staff. And if this team is not getting to the postseason, I think that's gonna be very bad on Bob Melvin. It's gonna be very hard, I think, for Buster Posey to make a change at the coaching position after the public display of faith that he gave already this summer. That's a tough public display to go back on.
I wouldn't necessarily blame a missed postseason this year on Bob Melvin. Melvin has done stuff I haven't liked. I don't particularly like some of the stuff he's done with the bullpen, but for the most part, I feel like Melvin's done a decent job. I don't think you need to. I don't think Melvin's the guy to blame if they miss the postseason. Again, the Giants team, these teams of the last 4 years, going back to 2022 through now 2025, have actually all been very similarly built. They're not the greatest teams, but they're not the worst teams, and they're teams that, if the right pieces are there, if it's well managed, that they can finish over 500 and sneak in that back door into the playoffs. Definitely, I think they also need to add a few more pieces. I think the trade deadline is going to be big. I think they do need to add a bat or two. Wouldn't hurt to add another starting pitcher. But who do you see? Who'd you like to see the Giants try for at the deadline?
I've seen Mitch Keller's name pop up. I think he's the guy that with a little bit of more run support that he's getting with the Pirates. He could be an option there. Sandy Alcantara is the big everyone can fix him guy. I am not believing in that one right now. Other than that, though, I don't think there's another hitter out there they're going to get. And as far as relief help, I mean, your answer is as good as mine. I mean, there's so many relievers out there that you'll never, ever hear from. And all of a sudden they're going to be acquired, and we're going to have to do a deep dive on them to figure out who they are. But yeah, as far as other pitching options that are out there, I think you're looking at a guy who's honestly, I think Luis Severino with the A's could be an option, but I don't know if the A's would play ball there on that one.
I hate to interrupt you. Bruce McGowan's in the green room. Bruce did not want to come in with the video on. Bruce, if you don't want to come with the video on, there's a camera icon. You can just click on that, and that will turn your camera off. You could text. You could type me through. Bruce wants to come in, but he doesn't want to be on camera, so I'm trying to get his camera off before.
He make us all feel bags. He's gonna be the prettiest of all of us.
Yeah, he will be. Even though he's the oldest. Here's the thing, guys. Us guys actually age well as we get old. Actually, the thing is with guys, if you're really good looking when you're younger, you tend to be really ugly when you're older. And then if you're really ugly like me in your youth, you'll tend to be better looking when you're older.
I've never heard that one, but all right.
Bruce, should I just bring you on camera anyway? You could message me through. Should be a private messaging. Should I just bring you on? Okay. All right, our next guest, he was the longtime host of Giants post games on the weekend on Cambiar. He even announced some games with Joe Angel in 2003. Very grateful to have him as a friend. And on my first show here, Mr. Bruce Macgowan. Bruce, how are you, sir?
Well, the reason I'm on late is that, unfortunately, and I may look a little out of it, I got tested positive for COVID. So yeah. So I've been kind of sick the last couple of days. I'm feeling a lot better today, but I was on the phone with the advice nurse for the last 45 minutes, figuring out the strategy as we move ahead here. My wife is not happy at all. She has to prepare meals. I have to be isolated for a couple of days. It's a pain in the rear. What can I tell you?
Well, what's the medication they give out?
I think it's called Paxlovid. There's one that apparently helps. My symptoms aren't that bad. For those who have had COVID, I had a real not a bad fever, but a fever yesterday, and I felt really sluggish. And I have this, you can hear my voice kind of sound scratchy. I had a real scratchy cough. It was real dry, and now it's kind of wet. And, I think some people just have it really get bad. I don't think mine is that bad, but unfortunately it is COVID. I went in to, get a test today, and, oh, by the way, you've got COVID. Thank you very much. Just what I wanted to hear on this beautiful Thursday,
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the way you told the story.
No, that's okay. It is kind of funny.
Well, I heard if you treat it like a hoax, it'll all go away on its own.
Yeah.
Look, folks, COVID is still a thing here in 2025. When you can mask up, I still mask when I say I'm on an airplane.
I have to apologize to you right away. My phone is sometimes, I've got, not only am I got a virus, but today my phone was attacked by viruses. And so occasionally you'll hear me, but occasionally I'll disappear as the malware pops up. So I think somehow my phone gave me the virus, or I gave my virus to the phone. In any case, my virus and I are sharing this wonderful, and I'm glad I'm not sharing with you guys. So that's good.
It's the beauty of digital studios here.
There you go.
Get your shots every year, folks.
Oh, I know. I should have gotten my last one. Well, that's that happens.
I'll bug you about that next time I see you.
You got to get on me about that. Definitely.
I got my last one last September, and I will definitely get one this September.
Good for you. Good for you.
So, Bruce, we've talked about the state of the game of baseball. We've talked about the Giants. Right now, we're talking about who the Giants could add at the trade deadline.
Oh, interesting.
And do you think, Sam and I disagree, I think if, say, Rafael Devers were to go down for the rest of the season, the Giants could survive. Sam doesn't think so. How vital do you think it is that Rafael Devers gets healthy? And if, say, something were to happen and he were to blow out his back?
Well, I think they could. Yeah, I think they could make the playoffs. How far they'll go, I don't think they'd go very far without him. It sounds to me, and you guys would know just as well as I, because you're more on top of it. Pretty much, I used to be a lot more on top of it. But from what I've read and heard, I talked to Dwayne Kuiper, I talked to Ron Wotus. They were telling me that Devers has a little groin problem and a little back problem, and those things are not going to go away right away. They will, in time, clear up. So maybe by mid-August he'll be at full strength. Maybe not till early September. Should be okay, maybe by early September. And if they can just hold their own and have him get a hit occasionally and, stay the course and stay within range of the wild card, they may, get hot down the stretch, and who knows what can happen. But I agree with Sam. I think if they don't have a productive Devers, it's going to be very, very tough for them to not only make the there goes my phone again. I hope you guys can still hear me. It's going to be.
We lost Bruce.
Yeah, there we go. We're back. We're back.
Serves you right for siding with Sam.
Well, I was going to say the National League is tough. The Mets are good, and Milwaukee's good. Chicago's playing out of its gourd. San Diego hasn't had a great season, but they're as good as the Giants. And then, of course, you got the Phillies and the Dodgers and the Cubs. We haven't even talked about the Cubs. What a great story that's been. So the Giants have a lot of. The National League is loaded, It's too bad, Sam, because we sit next to each other at games and we talk about the Giants, and it's kind of sad that, this has been a fun year and the fans are coming back, but they may not make the playoffs with a little bad luck.
Well, that's the importance of why they need Devers healthy. And before you hopped on, I suggested that if you got to put Devers on the IL coming out the All-Star break here, you do that. See, they could put him on the IL tomorrow, have him back off on July 28th, 29th, just in time for the trade deadline. And at that time, you're probably adding to your pitching staff. I don't think you're adding another bat. But if he can be healthy on August 1st, and you got a new pitcher and a new reliever in that bullpen, then I think you're all systems go for 2 months. Then you're very much in it.
Yeah,
Devers healthy, because they've been barely getting by with Devers providing, below replacement level production. It's all the pieces are there. They just need to put them together in the right way. And that's kind of what we're waiting on here with the Giants here. And
I can't disagree with you in a lot of ways. Maybe putting him on the IL for a while is a good thing, because it would allow Wilmer Flores to get some at bats, and he's been pretty productive this year. And it would continue to allow them to have Smith at first base, and that guy's been outstanding defensively. So it might be a smart move. Now, granted, the Giants are going to pay a lot of money for this guy, so there's going to be a hue and cry among the fans. But sometimes you got to bite the bullet. So we'll wait and see. I mean, if these problems persist and he continues, it seems like every other time, maybe every third time he's swinging and missing, and every third time he's hitting the ball weakly. 1 out of every 3 times he hits the ball hard, and usually, unfortunately, it's right at somebody. There we go again, phone's doing its weird things again. I'm sorry, guys.
On Sunday, I was convinced that was gonna when he hit that ball. I just thought, like, there it is. There's the signature Rafi Devers hit. We've been waiting. And when James Outman came up with it, It was, that was so deflating. And it was just like, I think in that moment, we just kind of knew like the Giants are winning that game. And it's just, that's how badly Rafi Devers to have these moments.
That was one of those. Well, Sam, you watched, you were there when the ball left his bat. I'm sure you were feeling the same way as I was.
I thought he did it. I thought he had the ball off the wall.
Oh God, it was at any other ballpark that probably would have been a home run. And let's face it, Outman had to make a great play. I mean, it wasn't a great play, but he had to make a very good play to get that ball. And unfortunately, that's the way that things go when you play a team like the Dodgers. You got to get some breaks. And look at the way LA scored the winning runs. A bloop single by Freddie Freeman, a ground. I think it was Teoscar Hernandez hit that weak ground ball, and then another bloop single. They didn't exactly kill the Giants with the power of Ohtani or anybody else, but hey. And those were good games. They were fun. That was a good series. You hate to lose 2 out of 3, but they were entertaining. The game on Friday night, we were talking about this earlier. That was the best game of the year, I thought. I mean, that was terrific theater. So, hey, compared to the last 3 years where we've had bad, boring, well, maybe not bad, but mediocre baseball. It's boring. I think we're very lucky finally to have some good baseball again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Friday's win was big because they nearly blew the big lead, and the fact that they held in there and they survived it. It showed just how much grit this team has. But with Devers, I look at Devers and I think to myself, why is this guy playing right now? This is a guy that I don't think it would just be a good idea. I think they need to IL him because I worry that he could blow out his back or tear his groin, and then you have him out for the year, and then you are in trouble. Now, again, I think the Giants, this is a team I feel like is a team of destiny. That's why I think they could survive without Devers, but you would rather have him in the lineup and not lose him. And of course, ideally with him at 100%. And the thing is, the Giants have long let guys play hurt. They let Matt Cain play hurt. They would let Angel Pagan, Hunter Pence, and then that ended up destroying their careers. And I worry the same thing's going to happen here with Rafi Devers.
Well, I hope you're wrong. I think when you make that kind of an investment, though, there's that expectation that this guy's supposed to do what he's supposed to do. I'm trying to think of some big trades the Giants have made in past years, and the one that comes most prominently to mind, and again, this is going back a few years, is when the Giants brought in Kevin Mitchell, and he wasn't supposed to be that much of an impact player. In his first game, he had 2 home runs, and this is before you guys remember, but I was covering this team really closely. This is 1987. They were a 500 team on July 4th. And from that point on, they won 37 out of the next 54 games, and they won the division by 4 games. They brought in Rick Russell, who was a big he looked like a beer league refugee, about 260 pounds. And you go to do an interview with Rick Russell after games, and this is what it'd be like. Hey, Rick, how you doing? Fun. Hey, let's talk a little bit about team chemistry. I don't know anything about chemistry. I flunked chemistry in school. What about... And then you had Don the Caveman Robinson, who would take his shirt off, and he was covered from head to toe in hair. His back was covered with hair. He was called the Caveman. Then you had Jeffrey the Hackman Leonard. You'd walk up to him, and he was from inner city Philadelphia. And I remember trying to do an interview with him once, the first time I interviewed him, and I said, "Hey, Jeffrey, you got a minute? Who are you?" And I showed him my press pass. He goes, "I don't know who this is. Who are you? I don't talk to people unless they're local," because I was working network at that time. "Actually, I'll talk to you later. Come back later and I'll talk."
And Sam and I were talking about this earlier. We don't have personalities anymore in baseball. It's all bland. And Sam, you attribute it to, you think guys are worried about, ball players want to live their lives. They don't want to have their entire careers and lives pending on one tweet or one thing they said. But that's one of the reasons I'm doing this show, because we got to bring personalities and characters back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Funny.
Well,
what's this guy going to do and say next?
Well, I think also people are constrained by social media. They're afraid to really be themselves because they know if they do something semi-outrageous, it's going to get blasted all over the world. And I remember vividly back in the day, and is it okay if I use a little profanity here? I don't want to use it.
I don't think Lee wants us to.
Okay, well, I'll go bleep instead. So you guys have heard of the famous Lee Elia tirade? Have you heard of that one? He was the manager of the Cubs. This would be in 1983. His team just got booed off the field, and they were off to like a 5-14 start. They're playing in Chicago, and he was a pretty mild-mannered guy most of the time. Comes into the clubhouse, and he's talking to the writers. He goes, "I'll tell you something. Those 5,000 people out there, I don't know what they're doing, but they ought to be at work. 95% of the world's working. The rest of them come out here. It's goddamn playground for them." Beep, beep. And he went on and on and on, and that got a lot of play. And then Frank Robinson, one time, here's a good story. Frank Robinson managed the Giants in the early 80s. Frank was a Hall of Famer, great player, tough guy from Oakland, wouldn't take any crap. There was a story about him once when he was confronted by a couple of young racist thugs after a game in Georgia during a minor league game, and they threatened him, and he beat both of them up right in front of his teammates. Anyway, so one night there was this reporter named Monty Stickles who had been a tight end with the 49ers in the 60s. Monty was the dirtiest player in pro football, according to Monty. That was his. Sorry, I've lost you again, but I've got you back on here. Don't worry. Anyway, Monty was the dirtiest player in pro football. He would kick a guy when the ref wasn't looking. He'd spit on a guy. He would. Hang on a second, guys. I am so sorry about this. This phone of mine. I can hear you again. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just do the audio because this thing is.
Now we lost him.
Oh, no, I just lost the audio.
Oh, man.
Okay, now I hear you. Now I hear you.
Okay, now you got me. Well, anyway, so Monty hated baseball.
Oh, and then we lost him again.
And in the middle of a great story.
Guys, this is so... Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so Monty was a drinker, and he was a mean drunk.
I think I want to kill myself now.
Monty doesn't want the story getting told.
Yeah, I think Monty might be.
Yeah. Anyway, well, can you hear me, guys? I'm sorry.
I can hear you. Keep going on and on.
Okay.
Telling the
all right.
story.
Yeah.
This one cuts out.
All right. Monty was a mean drunk, and I've been around mean drunks. They're not fun.
No, I can't imagine they are.
That's how you know, someone has a drinking problem. If they're getting drunk and they're mean and they're still drinking,
fun, yeah. Then if you're just getting angry and drunk, then at that point you're drinking for all the wrong reasons.
Because people who are silly drunks, they're cool, but
this is driving me nuts. What the fuck?
Getting him a little bit here.
We got the visual back. I'm sorry, guys. If you don't mind, I can keep talking. But is my voice cutting out?
No, now we're hearing you. And then we're not.
Yeah, Bruce will be good for 20 seconds, and then for 10 seconds he cuts out. No, I want to get that audio fixed because I think this sounds like a really good story.
I know.
Story, but it's not your fault. It's my fault with this stupid phone. I just, like I said, it's funny. Technology is so good, but sometimes when it goes bad, oh my goodness. So it is bad. But anyway, well, I'm trying to fix it while we're doing this, but I'm not having much luck. Let me see. One more try. No. All right. So you guys still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Monty comes down to the clubhouse with me and a bunch of other guys, and he's watching Frank be interviewed. Frank was pissed because Gary Lavelle, a reliever, who told Frank he was hurt, didn't tell him that he was hurt when he went out on the mound, and so he ended up giving up 3 runs, and Frank was really pissed at him. Frank didn't like Gary Lavelle to begin with because Gary was a born-again, and Frank thought born-agains were kind of weak-kneed and, didn't have a lot of heart. So Monty stumbles into the office with the rest of us, in Frank's office, and somebody asked the question about Lavelle. Did you know he was hurt? And Frank's like, if I knew he was hurt, you think I'd put him out there? And Monty asked the same question a few minutes later. And Frank just goes, God damn, Monty, didn't you hear what I just said? Well, we think it's a reasonable question, Frank. It isn't. It's a...
Oh.
All right, we're waiting for Bruce to once again fix his audio.
Anyway, I can hear you guys just fine. I don't know what the hell is going on.
So Monty says, "Oh, I think it's a very reasonable question."
Yeah, he says
I feel so bad for Bruce right now.
Seems it's always at the best parts of the story too. Is when it starts.
We're suffering too. I'm so bad. It's too bad because I'm really enjoying this conversation. Oh, there we go. Hey, I'm back on temporarily. Yeah. So, but we had, the thing was in the 80s and the 90s, we had a lot of stories like that because the social media wasn't a big deal and the players were more available. I used to have a lot of tete-a-tetes, I guess you call them, with Will Clark. Will would say things like, "Yeah, Bruce, you just don't know what you're talking about. You're yapping away, yakking. I just told you what I just said. You didn't listen to me, and you're assuming. You know what assume means, don't you, Bruce?" So we had characters like that. I had Kirk Gibson. I don't know if you remember hearing about him. He was a rough character, and he used to literally swat the microphone out of my hand. And I wondered if I couldn't figure out why he didn't like me because I'd never done anything to offend him. Turns out he didn't like radio guys, or television guys. Anybody with a microphone, if you were a writer, no problem. If you had a microphone, get out of here. And I think he was highly dysfunctional and had some real serious mental issues, but I had no idea of that at the time. And I had some real scary moments with him. And then the irony is that in 2002, years after he retired, I'm going on a bus to stop this stupid phone. Anyway, I'm going to Atlanta on a team bus, and we're on our way, and my phone rings, and it's a radio station in Detroit, and the producer says, "Hey, I'd like to have you."
Bruce's phone cut out. Bruce's phone cut out again.
I am so sorry, guys. This freaking phone. Like I said. Oh well.
At least it's not a pop-up ad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm getting the pop-up ads. I'm getting the things that say your phone is infected with viruses. If you go to this website, we'll take care of it for you. It's only $2. And then they want
Don't go to that website. Don't go to that website.
Yeah, no,
kids.
I don't. And then they want your credit card information. That's what they want. They want your credit card information.
Sounds safe to me.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Today it's kind of like the COVID thing. Yesterday it was full blown. Today it's not so bad. So my phone yesterday was doing some weird things. Today it is just I can't even make a phone call without a bunch of like you guys. I'm talking to you right now. Can you hear me now still?
Yep.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're just doing like regular radio, I guess, where you just talk. I mean, that's one thing I loved about radio. When I was working at KNBR, my boss used to say, "I need you." I was sort of the utility guy there. I did weekends. I filled in on the weeknights. I did mornings. They sent me on. I got to do a lot of trips. They sent me on the road a lot. I even got to do some play-by-play. But I remember one time after a horrible night where the Warriors just played awful, and they were right in the middle of that horrible run of 15 years. And we had to do like a 20-minute talk show. And a woman called and she said, "I listened to Ralph Barbieri today and he was ripping on women's basketball. And I think he's a misogynist." And I said, "Well, I heard some of the things he said too. And I can't say I entirely disagree with you in that regard." So the next day I come in and my boss, Bob Agnew, the program director, tells me, "You better talk to Ralph. He's really pissed at you." Turns out one of Ralph's buddies was listening to the show, and Ralph comes on the air and he goes, "And I just heard that Bruce Macgowan, he's this little Weasley guy that works around here, he does stuff on the weekends. I thought he was a friend of mine. Turns out last night he had nothing better to talk about, so he was calling me a misogynist. And I don't have to take that from Bruce Macgowan."
Speaking of characters, if Bruce can get his audio
He was a
back
character.
here.
I worked with some interesting people there. Tom Tolbert was a character, although Tom was actually a sweetheart. He was pretty easy to deal with. We had Pete Franklin. Oh my God, I could tell you some stories about that guy. And one of these nights I'll have to come on your show when I get my phone fixed, and I'll give you some good stories. I can tell them all without any reservation now because all these guys are either dead or they're retired.
Well, it depends on how clean some of these stories are.
Oh, they're clean. Well, there's a couple that aren't so clean, so I'll have to kind of be discreet. A couple with Ralph are not so clean. Ralph, right? I traveled with Ralph, and that was an interesting experience. Let me tell you, on the road with Yeah, on the road with Ralph. That was you had to be the guy that didn't do any drinking. You let him do the drinking and the partying, and you did your responsible behavior. So yeah.
It is getting late, and I apologize for that. Sam's got a show to produce tomorrow. Before
I
go,
enjoyed this thoroughly, guys. Thank you so much for including me.
Bruce, I genuinely appreciate it. But before you go, Bill Newcombe died today. He was the Giants' managing general partner and CEO from 2009 to 2011. Often affectionately known as Bow Tie. He died today at the age of 83. And I was very sad to hear that. Bill Newcombe was a class act through and through, and he was a man who made me proud to be a Giants fan. And came at the end of 2008 when the Giants were not going through a great patch. They had missed the playoffs 5 straight years, 4 straight losing seasons, and he really invested in winning and in the team. And it seemed to me that he cared more about winning and the team on the field than profits. And in 2009, they won 88 games. Finished 4 back of the Rockies, who I still maintain cheated us out of the playoffs that year with the humidor, using unhumidified baseballs late in games. Then 2010, of course, what is there to say about 2010 other than it was true magic inside that year? And then 2011, of course, was an injury-marred season, but there was the extra revenue money out of winning the World Series. Newcombe wanted to use it on player development and technology. The owners wanted to put into a rainy day fund. And then on September 11th or 14th of that year, Newcombe announced that he was stepping down at the end of the season. 3 years is not that long a time, but it was far from uneventful. And, he was only there for one of the first 3 championships, but I think he definitely played a large part in all 3 of the championships. Do you guys have anything to add on Bill Newcombe?
Yeah, I mean, I think he really kind of reset the standard as to what Giants baseball could be. Like, he really kind of invested in this team to be one of the best in the league, and he really showed like this is the footprint. This is the template, so to speak, for Giants baseball to follow. And he built a foundation in a very short time that lasted a long time after he was ousted as the president of and CEO of the Giants. So no, his legacy is definitely very long lasting with the Giants. And in professional sports, it's so rare you find good owners in a field with so few good owners. He was one of the great ones for the mark he left in such a short time.
He was, and just how beloved he was by the fans too. And I remember fans would, especially at spring training in 2011, fans were going up to him and shaking his hand, telling him how much it meant to them to finally see them win a World Series and how thankful they were to him in particular. And, there were times like, he was the new owner and you're thinking, is he going to be that good? And there were times I admit when the fan side of us in 2010 took over, what's Bow Tie doing now? Is Bow Tie going to screw us over? But Bow Tie was truly one of the best. And I wish he could have been around longer, but he definitely had such a profound impact on the Giants and on the city of San Francisco in the 3 years he was here. And I think Sam and you and I can speak for both of us when I say we were both very grateful for what Bill Newcombe did for the Giants. And it's sad that he is no longer with us, and he will be deeply missed.
83 is a hell of a run, though. So
that's a great life. It's hard to complain at 83.
Rest in peace, Papa Bow Tie. He is truly a forever Giant.
Forever Giant.
And he rocked that bow tie really well.
He did. All right. I want if you could give some thoughts on Bill Newcombe, and then we'll wrap things up here.
Yeah. I actually, my wife is related to Bill Newcombe, so I got to know him quite a bit more than most people. He was at my wedding. Super nice guy, very accomplished. You mentioned his work with the Giants, his work with world justice in terms of helping people who were in trouble and needed good representation. But he was a guy, unfortunately. Again, I know a lot more than the media does about this because I was privy to this. There was a lot of jealousy because the owners. There's a cabal of owners with the Giants, and I'm not impressed with any of them really. I don't know them personally, but the fact that they treated him so dismissively after he did such a great job indicates to me that there was some pettiness and some jealousy because he was getting all the credit. Now, he didn't want the credit, but he felt that the Giants needed, since Peter McGowan was no longer there, somebody to be a front man. And so he volunteered to do that. He didn't ask. He didn't say, "Oh, I got to do it." He didn't force it on him, but they said, "Sure." And then because he was so popular and so likable, they, partly the reason they got rid of him. But I agree with you. I think he did a terrific job. I think it was a huge mistake getting rid of him. They still had some great seasons, and they've had good seasons since. But, he did bring the club back and do a lot of things that were good for the team. But anyway, sorry about that, guy.
Oh, it's all good.
The fact he did the turnaround so quickly and that turnaround lasted for as long as it did, really cannot be. Because literally, we talk about getting great owners in Bay Area sports history. He is definitely up there, but his period, it was a shooting star, so to speak.
Yeah.
In terms of his tenure there. I mean, it's insane to think that, by it was November of 2011, he had been officially ousted from his role, less than a year or so, basically a year after hoisting that trophy for the first time. For him to be ousted like that is it's not a great look, and it's impressive the Giants were able to get a couple more championships after that happened.
Yeah, another thing, people don't know this, but the Giants Wall of Fame that they have. It's kind of an adjunct to the statues of Willie Mays and Juan Marichal and Willie McCovey and so on. The Wall of Fame is kind of a cool thing, and that was his idea. Bill was a huge baseball fan. He grew up a Seals fan. He grew up down the peninsula, so he went to a lot of Seals games, and he was a huge Giant fan. Last time I saw him was at a family function about 6 months ago, and all he wanted to talk to me about was the Giants. How do the Giants look this year? What do you think of these newcomers? What do you think of Ryan Walker? What about Wilmer Flores? Has he got another year left? And he just was drilling me with all these questions. I said, Bill, I'm not involved anymore. I'm a fan like you, but I can only give you my opinion. But he loved baseball, and he loved the Giants, and it is a shame that they did what they did to him. I think that's one of, and they were able to do it and get away with it because, as you say, they had some really good teams after that. Actually, the 2012 team, I don't know if you guys agree with this. I think of the three teams, that was the best team, at least on the season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you think about it, that was the team that had to come back from 2-0 and 3-1 deficits in the playoffs and went to the seventh game with Madison Bumgarner on the hill and the tying run, what was it, third base when Salvador Perez popped out? So,
that was 14. The comeback
14.
Seventh game. World Series. What was I going to say? I think you could, I don't know if this is true or not, but you could actually argue that the Giants don't win any of the three titles without what Bill Newcomb did.
No, I don't think so. I think it's very, very accurate.
I think you're right. You make a good point. I'm really glad to see you guys give him some credit, probably because I'm a little prejudiced since I knew him, since I was related to him through my wife, and we got to know him pretty well. He was a good guy, and he was more than a good guy. He loved baseball, and he had the best interests of the Giants and the community at heart. And I'll give him and I'll give Peter McGowan, both those guys, a lot of credit for making the Giants what they are today. No question.
All right, we'll end it with that. Sam Lubman, Bruce McGowan, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I hope to have you both on future shows. And thanks to everyone who watched our first episode. Well, I've done this before, but our first official episode for Sports Radio Service. So I also thank my boss, Lee Leonard. Sam, Bruce, thank you very much. Have a good night, folks. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. See you later.
See ya.